How large of an application area should I start with for Legend? Do I start the wipe off as soon as I see it sweat, or when the whole area sweats? How long do I have until it becomes difficult? It's from Riley S.
Great question.
Wow. Okay, so we've been playing with that. You know, naturally, you always start, because every panel, I always tell people that even as you go from front to back of a car, is that if you've got different UV situations, from front to back, it's going to change. So always start small, work your larger as it allows. And you know, we've learned right now is that, you know, it depends on where you're at, what the humidity is going to be. You know, where I'm at most days, really perfect application process. Cool weather, almost zero humidity, and so we get a lot more work time. But as the humidity and heat goes up, or you've got maybe some exposure to UV lights, that workability is going to go down. And so you guys found that out. You just had your, you just hit it on point with the toweling, which is so important.
Yeah.
You know, is to use the right towels.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing I'd add, and then we're going to go on because there's a lot of great input, is that start out small, work your way bigger, because paint situation, did you just open it up as an old dry paint? You know, there's so many different and that's with any coating pretty much, is going to affect it. And so, you know, start small, work your way big.
Yeah. Yeah. So just do your test area, figure out what towels work, figure out your timing, how big of a square you can do. And yes, it's going to sweat, but on what we find is on older paints, maybe it doesn't sweat. So if the paint is really dry and old, you're going to be a pretty quick wipe off on that. It is not going to sweat, so maybe don't watch for the sweating. And so I really like, if you guys haven't seen it, check out Levi's towel cracking the code video. I think that was a great video that's going to help everybody quite a bit. Definitely one thing I think we found is long pile towels are not the best for the first wipeout.
Yeah.
Definitely, that's a no on that. But otherwise, Legend's been great to work with. It's, you know, fantastic coating, and so far it's just been great. So it is just figuring out, and every car is going to be different, just making sure you do your test panels first.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is, like Sydney said, was it's, you know, I took what Sydney had taught us, which was check and make sure it could wipe off well.
Yeah.
And so when I talked about it does have a tendency to sweat. It creates kind of a raceway or lanes, as we call them.
Lanes.
Yeah.
So you'll see the coating create these little lines on the surface, and that's when you know you're within the timing. Now, that could change based on your temperature, your humidity, all that stuff. Give or take, I don't have a timing, but I'm going to say guesstimate maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes from the start of that till the end of that 2-minute period once you see those lanes, because it may be an extra 30 seconds from the time you see those lanes. It could be an extra 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's where you were saying you've got the little test spots to check it.
Yeah.
Well, I found that my movement was the thing that I was having. I needed to know when the surface was, and I was the one putting the friction on the surface rather than letting the towel.
Right.
And so when I talked about the creature, basically the towel will allow itself to move on the surface, but if it doesn't, that's when that towel shifts. It's so high pile still, or so thick, that it shifts underneath your hand, and the other side that's in contact with the surface stays put.
Yeah.
And that's when you know you're not quite ready. And so that's kind of a more of an elaboration, but it's based off of the things that you guys taught me. I'm just trying to make it work for everybody. So
the other thing is there's no curing time that's the same, because you know, it could be, you could put it on and 5 seconds later it's ready to go.
Right, exactly.
Or at my shop when we tested this winter, really low humidity, man, we had a minute. Literally. And so, but really, in general,
it's
you put
working
it
that
on,
small.
and it's pretty much go.
Yeah.
You know, pretty much go. If that towel hangs up, maybe slow down, wait 5 or 10 more seconds, but it's usually within about 10-15 seconds. It's going to be ready to go.
Yeah, and I'm about, you know, in my shop, I'm usually about 35 seconds to a minute. But here's a quick tip: if you've waited past the ideal window, right? Rather than forcing the coating off there, because Legend is similar to Inspiration, it is cannibalistic. So if you've waited a little bit too long, just go back over that area, reapply it and then take it off.
Yeah.
But don't try to force that coating off. You know, you might run into some marring or streaking, and don't do that to yourself. Just run back over that area with the applicator and, you know, let the legend rehydrate itself and then just wipe off a little bit faster.